My first agency lost me $45,000, which is basically 2 Hermes bags over the span of 2 years. Here is everything I did wrong, everything I'm doing differently with my new agency, including this one deadly mistake that all of the agency founders are doing that I can easily avoid. So just for context, my very first agency that I had was a telemanagement agency where I worked with influencers in motherhood and lifestyle spaces, and I helped them get brand deals. In my new agency, The Sell Well, I work primarily with service providers, founders, entrepreneurs, and I help them edit their videos and create content for their social media so they can attract more clients and build a consistent social media presence. Part 1. There are 3 crucial mistakes that ended up costing me $45,000 that I did with my first agency. And I honestly didn't even realize how impactful those mistakes were until I exited the agency and reflected on my own journey and realized that those were the 3 mistakes. Number 1, I wasn't spending any energy on resources on getting new clients. And that's obviously the biggest reason why that agency didn't succeed. Very early on in the business, I signed up 3 influencer clients and my entire business was dependent on those 3 clients. I didn't do any networking with new influencers. I didn't talk about it on my social media. I didn't advertise in any way for my agency, which obviously didn't attract any new clients, and my business didn't grow months after months, year after year. And quite honestly, this is because I had another side of the business, which was influencer marketing consulting. And I was spending all my time and energy focusing on serving that one client. So I 100% completely neglecting getting any new clients for the agency. And obviously this is why I didn't grow. That obviously didn't work because we didn't have any new revenue and I already had a pretty consistent social media presence. However, I didn't share anything about my telemanagement agency, so people didn't know that this was something that I was doing. So I didn't get any referrals, I didn't get any new business. And second, it wasn't even on my to-do list to get new clients, like months after months, whenever I would set priorities and goals for the entire month, getting new clients for the agency just wasn't in my focus. So naturally, I didn't do any activities to achieve these goals, which is why where we are right now. The second biggest mistake that I did with my previous agency is legacy pricing. So very early on in my business, I signed up 3 influencers and I offered them the lowest price possible that I could ever do, because it was just the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey and I just really wanted to leave my 9 to 5. And honestly, if they would offer me $100 a month to work with them, I would say, hell yes, let's do it, because I was desperate. However, I worked with them for over 2 years. I didn't raise their prices even once. They were just set the price and we just rolled with this month after month. And obviously with the fact that I wasn't attracting any new clients, that legacy pricing started eating up, and the money that I was making in 2022 with telemanagement agency is obviously very different than the money I was making with a telemanagement agency in the beginning of 2024, because I didn't adjust for inflation, I didn't adjust for the values that I just didn't do it. And because I wasn't making any new money with a telemanagement agency, I quite honestly grew resentful towards the entire business and the agency model overall, but also influencer marketing space in particular. And I just didn't see myself growing this business in any way, shape, or form. And of course, the more resentful I grew, the more I didn't want to spend my time and energy growing that side of business. And so it was absolutely inevitable that my business would not survive. And this is why I ended up closing it in February 2024. And third and biggest mistake, which is kind of feeding into legacy pricing and not attracting new clients, but my contracting cost was exceeding my revenue. I had the most incredible, talented, extremely responsible and absolutely incredible in communication assistant that was helping me with all of the day-to-day operations of the influencer marketing consulting. But because of the prices that I set out, and because I also had legacy pricing and I wasn't attracting any new clients, I paid her more than the money that I was bringing from my influencer clients. Her fees were covered by my influencer marketing consulting client. And this is how I was able to work with her for 2 years. And she is absolutely incredible. I have zero regret, because it truly helped me grow as a leader and also know how to operate and delegate and rely on help with other people. But because I wasn't growing the business and because of the legacy pricing, the cost was just eating up too much. This is actually where is the number of $45,000 is coming from, simply because I was losing $2,000 every single month for 18 months because I wasn't bringing any new business. And again, because I was so focused on my influencer marketing consulting client, I just wanted to completely offboard the entire telemanagement agency to somebody else so they can worry about all of the day-to-day operations and I can just focus on other side of the business. And because of all of those three mistakes, I closed the agency. I parted on great terms with all of my clients. We still have really good relationships and I still have a good relationship with my previous contractor. I definitely know that it was the right move for me. However, once I closed that business, I swore off any agency work for the entire year and I told everybody and their mom that I will never have an agency again. Which brings us here to part 2, why I decided to open my agency again. After I closed the agency for the entire year, I was focused on personal branding coaching and having one-on-one and group coaching clients, and I didn't want to do any done-for-you services ever. I just wanted to be a coach. I was very happy with it. But I also realized that I kind of hit my revenue limit with the resources that I had available. But I also knew that I wanted to do so much more. And I couldn't figure out what it was. In somewhere deep inside of me, I knew that would probably be an agency route again. But because my ego was so hurt from my telemanagement agency, and it was honestly such a painful experience to be closing it down and parting ways with everybody. I was trying to find other ways of how I can grow my next $1 million business, and then I realized that the agency, unfortunately for me, very fortunately for me now, would be the only way. But I truly understand it when I went to a business retreat in Palm Springs this March. The guest speaker asked us to name our revenue goal for the year. Mine was $200,000 for 2025. And then she asked us to outline 5 things that needs to get done in order for us to achieve this goal. And it seems pretty straightforward for me. I just need to land X amount of clients for my one-on-one coaching. Then I need to have this amount of launches for group coaching and have an X amount of students available. Then I also need to do multiple workshop and all of this. And like, in theory, I could hit $200,000. Then she asked us another question. If our annual goal for 2025 would be our monthly goal, so I need to make $200,000 a month, what would I do? And that wasn't coaching. Coaching didn't even occur to me. And it wasn't even part of the decision process or the activities that I would need to get done. My initial reaction right away that I need to build an agency that helps content creators. That was such a big ego wake up in realizing that this is the way for me to build my multi-million-dollar business that I know I can do and I truly want. But the only reason why I neglect doing it is because of my own ego and because I was so deeply hurt in my first experience, I didn't want to fail again. But I also realized that I cannot get stuck in the same personal branding coaching experience because I am being my biggest limitation and I'm not allowing myself to expand. And this is how the Sell Well was born. Which brings us to part 3, what I do differently with the Sell Well right now. And starting off right away with the number 1 deadly mistake that I've seen all of the new agency founders are making, which I can easily avoid right now, is when they're building a founder-dependent business. What it means is that their entire business relies solely on them. They say yes to everything and then they're struggling to deliver because they're running a one-person show. They also hire way too late, way too deep into the processes, and it's almost always a very negative experience because they don't have time to onboard and train their new hire. If they do ended up hiring pretty well, they become the bottleneck for all of the decisions that they're making, and they're always keeping the business stuck and not allowing their own team to grow. And in many cases as well, they end up resenting their entire business and the entire agency because they're too exhausted, too tired, too burned out, and they don't want to do anything. And I'm 100% speaking from experience because every single one of those things, I've done it myself. Why would I learn from mistake of other people when I can just do all of my mistakes and then just learn from them? The sell well, however, with day one was set with an intention to be a founder independent company. This is because I need to have a business that can run without me on with a day-to-day operation. So quite honestly, between you and I want to take a maternity leave and not worry that the minute I get pregnant, my entire business is going to crumble. I know that I have an incredible team that can support and run the business in many cases way better than I am for providing the level of services that they can for the clients. And I know that I can focus on other areas of my life that are also equally or greater important for me than being an entrepreneur. So the 3 ways of how I'm building a founder independent business is: number 1, I create SOPs, templates, processes, and procedures before I landed my first client. And then the more clients that we have, and then the more processes we actually implement in the day-to-day operations of my business, I optimize it for the real life scenarios. So now anyone on my team can onboard any kind of client. Everybody on my team can do any of the services by themselves, and I don't need to tell them what needs to get done step by step. They can just reference all of the policies and procedures that needs to get done, and I'm not involved in quite a lot of those. I also hired a team pretty quickly, but hear me out. I have an absolutely incredible team of 3 people, which are super talented women. I could not imagine doing this business without, but I calculated all of my business expenses and paying myself as well into every single service, so my profit margins remain intact regardless of what kind of service package we are offering for our clients. So I did the pricing smart this time, not like last time. And I also know that we have room to grow, and I can also increase the rate for my team members, and I can also increase the rate for my services again. So hopefully this time we're not going to run into the same legacy pricing mistake. And because of that, I don't work 24/7 now, even though I have basically 2 businesses right now. Over the past 4 months, I actually ended up only working 4 days a week instead of my regular 5, simply because I had all of the tools, templates, processes, and procedures in place that allowed me not to work on Fridays. And honestly, that was like the best decision I have ever made. So I'm not gonna lie, losing $45,000 sucked, like big time, especially when I was going through that experience in the moment. But also the kind of woman that I have become throughout this process, I am very grateful that it happened. And I'm honestly kind of treating those $45,000 as a master's degree in how to not run your business. So now I'm not going to be making the same mistake with my new agency or whatever other businesses I'm planning to do and create. But definitely one of the biggest takeaways was navigating my own relationships when it comes to failure. And because I do share my journey online, it was also part of failing publicly and openly sharing about the journey, that this was a side of the business that I closed down because I completely mismanaged it to the ground, and owning this mistake and taking full ownership and responsibilities that there is nobody else that was responsible for the mistakes that I made but me. That was a really big wake-up call. And also owning up to when you truly suck, learning from it, and trying to do all of these things again. But this time, trying to be a little bit more smarter. So I know I haven't released a single YouTube video in over a year, which I don't think that anybody has noticed. But I do want to take this again a little bit more seriously. So if you're watching this video, stick to it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me knowing that I do have this extra motivation to continue releasing my YouTube videos talking about personal branding, Instagram, how I get clients with my 5,000 followers social media presence, and sharing all of the mistakes I am making with my new agency in real time. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the beautiful day.